We'll start with VAR.
VAR, yeah.
What do you make of it so far?
I think it's having its teething problems, which is, probably to be expected, like anything else new. It's not as simple as the goal line technology. That's plain and simple. It's worked very, very well since it was introduced. So, in addition to that, is more than welcome from my point of view. But just sort the teething problems out really, and establish a protocol, I think, to the way forward when it keeps being assessed. I think if anything I would add is to add to the situation for fans who are in the ground waiting patiently, that it comes up on the screen whether it's a goal or whether it isn't a goal, like many other sports do, and create a pause at that particular time for the joy of a team that scores, or the joy that the team doesn't score when they thought they have scored. So, but certainly there was a problem or two this weekend, but get all the heads together and iron it out, and I'm sure eventually we'll have a much better system, but it's certainly needed in today's modern game.
As we're nearing the transfer deadline, first of all, in terms of possible outgoings, anything in the pipeline, notably Sandro, David Klassen?
I think we've had a number of inquiries that are not suitable to us to allow the player to leave. Nearly all of them on loan. None I believe is permanent. So we haven't accepted any deal yet on any of those loan deals that we've had from other clubs. So until such time as the board tell me that financially it's acceptable, what do you think? And then from a squad point of view and a playing point of view, I say to them whether it's the best interest of the club and the player to go out on loan or not, or he's better staying with us in the squad and try to break into the first team. But like I said last press conference, we have got a lot of players, so moving some out on loan would be a possibility, but only if it's right for the club.
Just to check, is that a decision that you come to with each offer that comes in? I mean, Ademola Lookman has been linked with a loan move away. Is a decision being taken as regards him and whether he would be available?
Well, he wouldn't be available on loan because Aaron Lennon went a few days ago. So we got in the club's eyes, a very good deal financially for Aaron. He was running out of contract this year, so that was acceptable for us. So, but that then leaves anybody else to go out on loan in that position a no really, because we need the squad to be available to play. I think we've used 36 players this year with injuries and the amount of games that we've played. So, based on the amount of games we've played, we've got to try and keep the 25-man squad that he's been in nearly all season together. 8,000
minutes to young players as well. You mentioned injuries, but is it also indicative of new signings coming in who haven't hit the ground running?
It's a new manager, new signings, young players, injuries. 38 games already, is it 38, 39? I think that the whole combination has made life very difficult for Everton Football Club this season. But certainly the young players have gained a massive amount of experience in that time. They've obviously felt the pressures, like everybody has, on not performing well and not getting results, and also felt the pleasures of that recent run that we had when I got here, on what it feels like to go on a bit of a run and win football matches, and what it brings to you and how it makes you feel. That's what you strive for when you play this game. You strive to get that feel-good feeling when you walk in the dressing room and you've worked hard and you've achieved a result.
And you're still being linked with players coming in before that window. So any chance, and Zonzi again has been a link, but also Brozovic at Inter Milan. Anything in either of those?
Not yet, but I would expect that my focus is not on the transfer window, because unfortunately, yet again, the Premier League have decided to play a game right on the transfer window deadline, and I think that we had to suffer this last season Clearly, at the AGM, they didn't think it was worthy of not doing it this time round, and they've done it this time round on the back of playing the whole of the Christmas period, playing the FA Cup third round, 5 games in 15, 16 days, and then you go to, if you're still in the FA Cup, what does it bring? We're not in the FA Cup. We'd have liked to have been, but that game at the weekend for those in the FA Cup and playing Wednesday and playing Saturday is just added to the load again, and the transfer window. So I give you an example. I pick a team today. Tomorrow, splashed in the paper that one of those players is going to be sold before the window shuts. How is that player going to approach that game against Leicester, which is very important to us? We all suffer that. So is that right? You know, and it certainly isn't. But we have to cope with it. I remember last season at Crystal Palace being exactly the same position, and actual fact, I got one very important player just before the deadline after we'd played Bournemouth that made a big impact on the team, but it was horrendous, not just for me or the players, but for the chairman and the chief executive. So I don't know why we played this fixture at this particular time. I do, but I'm not going to make it public.
Safe to say then that you're not necessarily ruling and bringing out anybody.
I'm not ruling anybody in or anybody out, because it's impossible to do that. What I'm saying is that, you know, the window is open for everybody, and somewhere out of the blue that normally happens at this time appears, whether that's a player for you to bring in or whether that is a player that you didn't expect to go out but is acceptable for the football club for the right reasons.
In terms of the squad, I mean, first of all, Seamus, how ready is he to come back into the
training with us
first team fold?
regularly in the squad for Wednesday now. It seems that touch wood, that hopefully from here on in he can have an injury-free run till the end of the season. A very important player, as we all know, and from my personal point of view, even when he does play in the team, you know, he needs time. He's been out an awful long time, as the same with Yannick Bolasie. Such a long period of time out that can't be expected to hit his top form immediately, but very important to have him back. His influence, not just as a player, but I think as a person and as a human being. And
a word on James McCarthy as well. Just how did his operation go?
It went well. He's recuperating back in his hometown, Glasgow, and there's not an awful lot we can do with him just yet. And then bring him back and pick the right rehab for him. You know, whether that may well be away from the football club, not at the football club, because there's an awful lot going on day in, the day out here, but maybe particular attention to James for one area somewhere in Europe might be an opportunity for us to consider.
Is Funes Murray back training with the group yet?
Yes, he is, yeah. Another long-term injury. But we're taking it obviously pretty steady with him, just training with the first team. He doesn't do the whole session just yet, as we're very protective of the knee and monitoring that on a daily basis.
In terms of this game, Leicester obviously unbeaten in 6, 1 goal conceded in that time in all competitions. How do you go about breaking them down?
Well, obviously it'll be very difficult. I think that we all know the threat of Mahrez and Vardy and Osaki for me, and a very solid base that they're playing from now. So I think that we have to manage that first, and then break them down when we get the opportunity. I think that for us it's about the performance overall, getting better than West Brom. But in saying that, it doesn't look so bad now after watching West Brom against Liverpool. So, you know, as difficult as a day that was, we managed to get a point out of it, and we've got to push on from there. We're in a difficult position at the moment, results-wise, so we've got to turn that round as quick as we can. It happens for all the teams probably outside the top 6 when you have a good run, which you really like, and then all of a sudden that run comes to an end and you've got to try and do your best as a manager and set the coaches to overcome the fact that you're not winning football matches as quick as you can, because confidence, the longer it goes, the more the confidence drain.
You spoke after the West Brom game about confidence as well, but in this run you've obviously faced Chelsea, Manchester United, Liverpool and Spurs. I'm not saying
Correct.
you should just accept that, but
No.
Is there a context around it?
Well, I think that the context around that probably was the biggest disappointment was the second half performance against Tottenham. I think that all we've lost on the basis of trying to, because we were getting results, which was the most important thing first, and still is the most important thing. We had to look at the situation and say we were having so few shots at goal that we had to try and expand on that. So we've still got that balance of expanding on our attacking football and creating chances and scoring, but never forgetting that we've got to maintain the clean sheet record and get that back on track. And so for me, the focus is to get that back on track again first, and then look to create and get goals after that.
Just one final thing from me, Luke Garbutt, has he got a chance of being involved?
Well, we put him in the squad. He's been out of it since the start of the season, so we've put him in there to have a look at him, and obviously time will tell on how we think he progresses.
Just to ask, and on terms of moving the players out, is it imperative? You've spoken about how you've got 35, 36 players. Is it imperative you get that number down at all costs, or will there come a point on Wednesday where you go, we haven't had proper offers, they'll just have to stay and like it and lump it?
Yeah, we'll have to deal with it if that's the case. And I think the challenge for the players is the hardest of all. I think the challenge for the players is sitting and moping and feeling sorry for yourself is not the answer. I think that the answer is for them to be determined, dedicated, and prove to us as managers and coaches that we deserve a place in the squad or then in the team. I think that that's their responsibility. Our support to them is probably bigger in terms of what we try and do for them to keep them ready and capable of taking an opportunity when it comes around. And I think that that's the hard bit for them mentally to cope, to think, well, they're not involved again, and do they really put it in training? We keep telling them that the extra training they have to do is not a punishment. It's to keep them physically and then hopefully mentally as well capable of taking a chance when it comes their way. For me, I've had to change the team quite a lot, and it's not always been through injuries. It's through the fact that performances haven't been as good as I expected. So the responsibility of a player is to perform consistently to his best, and when that happens, they stay in the team. When that doesn't happen, you have to change it.
Are you getting that response from those that are not involved then? The reaction you wanted?
Time will tell when you put them in the team. I think that we have a lot of players to manage on a daily basis, and I think that and then when the training finishes, the extras are laid out for those players to go on away and keep themselves in the right shape, whether that's little pockets on the training ground, in the gym, in the pool, wherever it might be, in the analysis room. Go and look at your own game, go and sit down and take a stock of what you've actually done. That's not our responsibility as much as theirs, to see the analysts who are there every day, who log in all the performances. They can break it down, they can put it to music if they like, it's up to them, and they can see their performances when they've played, whether that be consistently or whether that's been spasmodically. So they can improve themselves by analysing their own performance without the coach or the manager being there to be, well, generally positive, but also sometimes constructive criticism. But there's nothing wrong with looking at your own performance and saying, what can I do better? You don't have to always be guided by us. You are there as a human being to think for yourself.
Just finally then, on Wednesday, regards the transfer window and the game, how do you manage your time in terms of where you think about one or the other, and then?
I'll probably be here in the morning till probably mid-afternoon, and then put it all to bed and get out of it and get myself ready and focused to meet the players and get ready for the game, like you mean. So I think to be on site just to, well, I mean, you can do it at home if you wanted to, because your phones and the technology is just the same, but probably better all together here at the football side of it, here at the club, to make any decisions that may come in, rather than me sat at home on my own. I need the opinion of the coaching staff when something comes in and say, are we prepared to let this player go or aren't we? Or is the one to bring in? Will he make us better? Is that an opportunity for us to say yes?